I didn't need help from anybody. I was good at everything. And this, the drugs and the alcohol, I couldn't stop doing it. I went down a path of destruction, just about escaping the feelings. I never used one without the other. It was chaos. A dump truck was insanity. It plowed into us. I know it was the devil. I actually got suspended from baseball. I said, I need help, and I can't do it anymore. I fell on my own. You do with me what you want to do with me, but I surrender.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a couple of our radio affiliates here in Fairfield County. And do appreciate the folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy that go ahead and produce and get this program together each and every week. And we are so blessed to have a program like this and a venue to share things that go on within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. And I was surprised because I really didn't realize how many people actually view this program, because it's carried on the Sheriff's Office and YouTube, and so just a number of venues, not even counting the folks that see us on LSN television here in Lancaster. So it's kind of really neat that we're reaching as many people as we do, and we're very appreciative of LSN and all the folks that let us put this program on each and every week. Back this week is Lieutenant Alex Lape. Alex is in charge of the Road Division, the Patrol Division of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Just about almost half of the entire Sheriff's Office comes under your command. It's a big responsibility, and it's a demanding job, and it's a job that you've got like 24/7. It's not like you can go home because you never know.
Right, yeah. The phone calls sometimes you get in the middle of the night and get a little problem. They need to help figuring out what they need to do and things like that. So there's always something going on, it seems like.
And fortunately for me, over the years, we do have a very exceptional command staff. And what that means to me is most of the time, the boots on the ground, the folks out there can take care of these situations. So it's not like, I've got to go out to everything or I get calls all the time. And that's been a dynamic that's really changed over the years, because Loretta and I were talking about that just the other day, how 10 years ago or soon after I became sheriff, I would get a lot of calls pretty regularly in the middle of the night for a lot of things that now we have supervisors trained and a command staff that by and large, unless it's truly an emergency, I can find out in the morning, and it makes life a little bit easier from that aspect.
Some of that's the change in technology too. We can
absolutely
put a lot of things together to give you in the morning that you can review. That
every morning it's actually on my phone what happened the night before, so it takes a few seconds and I can look at that and
still get a good night's sleep.
Still get a good night's sleep, and unless it's something like a big emergency.
Right, a major event, we're definitely going to wake you up for that. So.
There was a tragedy a couple weeks ago where we had, and this was in the Violet Township area, where we had a 16-year-old youth, went to Pickerington Central, I believe. He was 16 years old. He ended up getting his driver's license, and on the day he got his driver's license, his first time out by himself, he went out with a couple, I think, nieces, close to home. They hit a pole, and he was killed. One of the nieces was in critical condition. One looks like she's going to make it at the time of this taping. And that really struck home, because these young people out here driving, it can be very, very dangerous. And is there anything that parents can do to kind of help ensure that maybe their teens are ready to drive or they're safe when they drive?
Well, I know that there's some technology out there that some insurance companies will make available to parents, and it's basically like a video camera system that you can install in the car, and it will show you what's going on in the car. You can see it. You can see it remotely. It's almost you can turn it on from like a wireless type setup where you can see what's in the car. The other thing would be to make sure that you're familiar with the laws governing how many passengers a 16-year-old child in a vehicle can have in that car, because by law there's a restriction on that. Curfew times, the typical things, and it's almost a rite of passage when a child gets their driver's license and they take off. It's almost like they've grown up. Typically, my experience has been that there are some very responsible kids, and there are others that it's almost like the power is got a hold of them, and the fact that they can drive a car and watch TV and they see some of these things on TV and they want to try to replicate that, and it sometimes doesn't end in the best fashion.
Yeah, I think also, just to add to that, Lieutenant, the fact that as parents, as grandparents, we need to model good driving behavior. In other words, we want to make sure that we're going the speed limit. We want to make sure that we have our seat belts on. And the one of the worst things about being a deputy, a law enforcement officer, is making a notification to a parent. And I know you've had to do these before on the death of a child.
Right.
And it's just tragic. And I think that there's a certain amount of where kids feel invincible, that it always happens to somebody else, that this isn't going to happen to me. I can remember as a teenager that I had a friend down the street, and he would drive too fast, he would show off, and he would pick us up, and we thought this was just so much fun. We'd go out in the country, and this guy would be driving reckless, too fast. And at that time, the last thing in my mind was a car accident. It was just kind of like a fun night out with him, and we were thrilled to be able to get in the car and go with him. But and at that time, I shudder sometimes, because I can remember one time, he may have been going 100 miles an hour, and he kind of lost control for a minute, and we kind of were laughing. We think this is a big, he's being funny, but it even kind of scared him.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the reality of what can happen a lot of times is not part of the fantasy that people play out in the best way in their mind. When I was a high school student, and I was in a vocational trades class, and one of the drivers, or one of the students in there, had a great big suburban type vehicle and drove like that, and he was doing the same thing with another student in the same class, and there was actually an accident where this student that I saw every day was killed. So, and as a young adult, or not even an adult, I was probably 17 years old, I thought I was an adult then. But
Right.
That's a traumatic thing to go through. Somebody that close to you that you see every day, and kind of did the same things that we did, that actually died in that kind of an accident. So it definitely hits home.
So I think parents, I kind of I had heard about that before, where you actually have the camera right in the car, so you're kind of keeping an eye on it. And they're probably not going to like that, but it could save their lives.
Right.
And, it's always good to be talking to your kids about this kind of stuff, about, slow down. And because, sometimes I don't think parents understand the impact that they may have on their kids. But you may say, oh, they've heard it 100 times, the kids acting like they don't know, or they're not paying attention. But I do think that those kind of things help.
Well, and I personally we've received reports of kids that have been driving recklessly, and we've not actually caught them. We get the vehicle description, the license plate number, and I've went to their homes and talked to these parents. Sometimes you get a reception where they're listening to what you're telling them, they're believing what you're telling them, and they're not real happy with their child after that. Or the other, in my opinion, the worst case out of this is you go there and they're totally defensive. They don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Their kid didn't do anything wrong, and you need to leave kind of attitude. And my opinion is that doesn't help anybody. We're not there to cause problems. We just want to make sure these kids are safe.
Yeah, I'm often surprised when we will intervene in a situation where it's someone's child and the child is drinking, or there might be drugs suspected. And the parents, and in my view, very irresponsible parents, will go ahead and take the side of the child and say, you know, little Johnny, I don't think little Johnny do that. He said he wasn't speeding. And you really do your kids a disservice when you kind of act like that.
Right.
And we've had even recently we had a complaint where we had a young man that was at a party and there was drinking and stuff, and you know, the father ended up making a complaint against the police, against the sheriff's office, and again, I think that it really does this child a disservice.
I think so too. And I've personally been in those situations where I've tried to, for the benefit of this child and his friends and anybody who might be out on the road, you know, I want to talk to them and make sure that they know what's going on. Like, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I think it's a proactive thing for our office to be involved like that. And so we try to take whatever measures we can to keep people safe on the road.
One of the things that I get into the sheriff's office occasionally is someone will complain about a particular area in the county, a roadway, where they're seeing a lot of speeders. How are these type of complaints addressed by the sheriff's office?
Well, in years past, we would get the complaint of speeding, and you know, we'd go out and set and basically in the cruiser just log the speeds of the people that go by, and then we would, you know, get an average speed and try to see, you know, if it in fact was a valid complaint. A lot of times we'd get complaints for a particular subdivision. We would go do that, and probably 8 out of 10 people that we stop live in the subdivision. So
that's not good.
No.
Sometimes the complaint.
Sometimes
right?
the complaint. That's actually happened. The problem with doing that like that has always been the fact that when people see a cruiser, they're probably not going to speed. So recently we got a new speed monitoring system, the speed sign. It looks like a sign, but it also is like a speed trailer kind of setup. And it's pretty enlightening to see what people, how they're actually, at what speeds they're actually going. So we can use that tool to go out and do a speed survey. We can actually still do it the old-fashioned way, which we still will do sometimes. There's been occasions where the community watch people have helped us with that. They help us with the speed trailer setup, take down, and where we'll move it from one point to another. So they like to do that. They like to be involved in that, and it kind of will either add credence to the complaint, or it'll reveal that a lot of times when we look at a car coming down the road, it's hard for us to gauge exactly what speed it is. It may look like it's going faster than it actually is, I guess, is the thing that I've noticed before.
And don't you think even by having the speed trailer or speed sign out there, that in and of itself is reminding people to slow down, to be cautious?
It does. It's a deterrent, and it's more of a preventative thing than it is a deterrent because of that reminder. You see the speed, and it actually displays what your speed is, so you know, wow, you know, you might look down and I was going a little fast.
Right.
And the new signs we have don't display a speed when they go above a certain 10 miles an hour over what it's set for.
Okay.
It won't display it, because in the past we've had people try to see how high they can make the numbers go up on them. So this one
is that right?
This one doesn't allow you to do that.
So people would actually, and I hadn't heard that one. So they use it to see how fast they're going. So if they can get the car up to 100 miles an hour, they're going to do it and see
how many numbers they can get on the screen. So the
good. That's not a good thing.
The new ones won't do that. So you're going to waste your time and gas.
Last week we talked briefly about some cars, and I know recently we purchased six
new cars.
6 new cars. What were they, and what does it take to outfit those?
They are Dodge Chargers, and they're purchased on state bid. So this year, I think, was the first year that we actually did a competitive type bid for vehicles, and the state bid still won out. It's just hard to compete with that.
And what is the state bid for our listeners of yours who may not understand what the state bid is?
State bid is where the state of Ohio will pull a lot of different dealerships together, and they'll get the best competitive price that they can get. So if it's a state bid price, then it's already been pulled out through all the different dealerships in the state. So I can't remember exactly where these cars came from. In years past, they've come from all as far, like Vandalia, Ohio, and the places down southwest. So we get these cars, and then we have a deputy whose basic responsibility is Deputy Roberts. He does a really good job working and getting these things ready for the road.
Right.
It's more than a one-man show, though. We have another deputy who will actually put the striping on the cars, and then we'll take the vehicle to the radio, the guy that does our radio repair, and get our radios installed and all the lights. And it takes a while for that process. And then we'll go to getting the computers and all the other equipment installed into the vehicle. So when we get these, we have to put the cage in the car, we have to put the shotgun rack or the rifle rack, and the platform for the laptop. So there's a lot of work that goes into getting one car ready for patrol.
Yeah, the emergency flashers, the whole thing. There's a long way from that car when it comes in.
Right.
Just, it looks like a passenger car to make it into a police car.
Yeah, it takes a while, and I think we've had the cars in for about 3 months now, and the first ones are just now going out on the street.
And the other thing is, the reality is that these cars put on a lot of miles very quickly, don't they?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for them to have, by the time that we release them from our patrol division to work as a jail transport car, they'll probably have 150,000 miles on them.
And that doesn't take long, does it?
No. It's probably 2 to 3 years when they get to that point.
Yeah.
Well, the first year that we have them, they're a frontline patrol car. Then they'll move to the relief car position, and then usually after they're the relief car position for 1 or 2 years, we'll move them to the jail division. Jail division will use them. We get a lot of good use out of them. A couple of the cars that are still being driven by a couple, maybe a sergeant or one of the community services guys, have close to 200,000 miles on them. They drive them every day.
And the old Crown Vics that were the stable of the police fleet for the last 15, 20 years, they're gone now, aren't they?
Yeah, we can't get Crown Vics anymore, but
they like the Chargers, don't they?
The Chargers, and looking at them, surprisingly, they have a lot of room inside. I was surprised the first time I sat in one. They have a lot of leg room. I mean, we have one deputy that's probably, I think, 6'4", 6'5". He can fit in it. He doesn't have a problem. So.
Well, and I think they like them because they're kind of stylish too.
Yeah, they look pretty neat. Yeah.
Lieutenant, we're just about out of time. Lieutenant Alex Lape, head of the road division, the patrol division with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Appreciate you spending some time with us. We'll have you back here in a few months to kind of keep up to date. I know you haven't been with us in a while, so we'll kind of bring you in and out.
All right.
Do appreciate each and every one of you that join us here on LSN Television, also at our radio affiliates, and certainly the other venues where this program is put out throughout Fairfield County and beyond. The folks here at Fairfield Christian Academy that put this program together each and every week, they do a terrific job. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank you, the viewers and listeners that express a lot of nice comments about this program. If you ever need anything or have any questions, feel free to call me in the office. My number is 740-652-7252. Love to hear from you. If I'm not in, Pam Renko, my administrative assistant, will be glad to take your call, and I'll be sure to call you back just as soon as I can. Well, the old clock on the wall says we've got to go. If you're out there driving, buckle up, be careful. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.
Coming home can be hard if you're a veteran of Iraq or Afghanistan. You may feel like you're all alone, but you're not alone. At IAVA.org, your fellow vets are all around you. Join our free online community, get the resources you need, and connect to other vets who know where you're coming from. IAVA.org. We've got your back.